So I think the question was, what made Common Ground special or stand out in my mind? This was a place where you could go to just hang out and be in your black shirt and wear your beard in the most cliche way possible. It was like a second home, or a safe haven from the bullcrap that happens in a college town.
Originally of Common Grounds because that was the coffee house is my main angle. You know, just hang out, coffee house, a couple import beers, and that was about it. And then we started doing actual bands when ska got big, and they needed a place to play.
So you had no desire originally to be a venue?
Not a venue like it is now. You know what I mean? It would have been music oriented to some extent, but it wasn't built to be like it is now. It kind of it was its own animal. They kind of just went into its own thing, shaped itself.
I started off I quit touring, wanted to open a record store, was working at Common Grounds off and on. We tried to cut a space to see if we could figure out record store and Common Grounds in the same spot, and then the record store thing kind of fell apart for me, which is probably good because of the way record stores have gone in general anyway. And then we just started looking at spaces to move Common Grounds to, and ended up finally getting this spot open again. And the rest is history, I guess.
Against me played at Common Grounds. It was just me and Kevin. Yeah. And it was probably 2000, 2001 maybe. I'm pretty sure it was an open mic night. So I think that there was maybe 30 people or something like that, if even. Yeah.
This is definitely one of the hottest venues in the world. Right when the show starts, it goes to a damp, very moist, at least probably upper 90s, something like that.
But it was just so fucking hot. And it's like you start playing and already you're crossing off songs from the set list in your mind. But I remember we get maybe 5-6 songs in, and I think we were just all stripped down to our boxer shorts.
Oh yeah. I remember that.
It was fucking unbearable, you know?
They know the ins and outs of what a touring band wants when they come to a club. They treat everybody, for the most part, with respect. And I'm going to miss this place a whole bunch.
Throughout the history of Gainesville, or at least my history of Gainesville, there has always been the Common Grounds, and it stood out from, I think, the rest of the scene in that it was so different and eclectic, and it made it much more of a homely kind of fun place. Well, I moved here in 1992 specifically to open up a club in this building, and when I heard the news that Jason and Nigel were ready to close it down, I got really depressed. Live music is an essential part of what makes downtown great, and a venue like this, run like Common Grounds has been run, is like the heart and soul of live music in Gainesville. By the people, for the people kind of thing. People really connect with it, and there's no better way to connect with live music than in a place like this.
Actually, truly a common ground for a lot of people, and brings people together that you probably normally wouldn't see together.
Okay, tips on not getting your fake ID taken. 1, don't bring it to the bar. 2, get a good one that at least looks like yourself. 3, memorize all the info on it. 4, be able to duplicate the signature exactly. 5, don't commit any blatant errors like getting somebody other's ID who's, I don't know, there's going to be a fake ID, pay top dollar for it. Don't get like a $20 fake ID that looks like shit. And own it. Own it. You know, make somebody act it out. Make somebody believe that it's yours. Otherwise, you're getting that shit taken and it's going on a wall, or it's going to get sold, or something else. I don't know.
Early on in my career here, we had this guy, gentleman, whatever, drawing a pentagram on a table in mustard. Just immediately went up to him. I'm like, dude, you can't be doing that. Started fucking yelling at him and shit. He's probably about the size of that guy over there. I told him he needed to clean it up and then leave, and for some reason he did it. I mean, to get a job here, you're going to need like stuff like that, a little bit of that. You need to be able to get your knees dirty, some good shoes, good thick sole, something like that. You're going to be standing for a while. You know, loud voice, really like intimidating and mean, and just the kind of thing that people stray away from at all times.
I just wanted to kind of give you all an idea of what not to do, and some things to do when doing karaoke. It's always somebody's birthday. It's always somebody's first night in town. It's always somebody's last night in town. It's always your friend just got home from prison. Okay, so don't try to bribe with that. Money helps, though. Money helps. The thing with karaoke, there's not even a fine line between good and bad. There's good and there's bad. And bad can be good, don't get me wrong. As long as you go for it, you put in the effort, you'll receive the accolades that you're probably looking for. But if you go up there and the words are right in front of you, just go for it. Who cares if you say them right or say them wrong? Just go for it. From this day forward, I want you to go for it in life and in everything that you do.
First line says, your name, self-explanatory. Second line, song title, don't be an asshole. Next line, CD number, again, don't be an asshole. And then finally, track number. That's your third time of not being an asshole while filling this out.
Talking about people sneaking in, like the first fest we did in this location, one of the big shows was Against Me and the Blood Brothers, and we had people crawling up underneath the deck. We had people jumping off the roof trying to get in, and seriously, someone climbed all the way through this crap to then have someone standing like right here and be like, "What are you doing?"
The cookout probably started in 2008. Because we always had the happy hour, you know, during the on Fridays. But since it was 5 o'clock, everyone felt like they were jackasses because they were drinking during the day. But once you had dinner and had food involved, they didn't feel so bad about themselves. True fact.
So the plumbing is just fucked. So sometimes it's like when you're not busy, and sometimes it's in the middle of a fat show. It's just decided to act up. Like that's one of the things I tell people, yeah, owning a rock club is really glamorous, but it's all about bathrooms and air conditioning.
I have two good bathroom stories. First one was, I was in the urinal, and there's two urinals, and there's no partition, so you just got to party. That's
very close.
So I was peeing, and this guy, I was holding a beer in my hand, and I was peeing at the same time. And I was holding my beer from start to finish, so I had to unzip and everything. And he looks over at me, he goes, "Man, is it hard?" And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, "Oh, no, man, I mean like holding the beer in one hand and doing the rest with the other hand." I was like, "Yeah, right, man." And I zipped up and walked out. The other time, I was sitting there, I had my boots on. I was just standing there at the urinal, and I'm like peeing, and this guy next to me's peeing, he's swaying back and forth, he hits my shoulder a couple times, I'm just like, whatever. All of a sudden I feel this pressure hitting my boot, and I look down and the guy's peeing on me. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, I couldn't believe it was happening to me. So I just kind of looked down in disgust and just walked away slowly. And I get outside and Jason's like, "Why don't you kick his ass, man? I would have let you for that one. I would have let you kick his ass for that one. And then I would have thrown you out."
We have our master plan, bottled and canned, living in the 352. Steps 1 and 2, walk home drunk, wake up confused, with a stranger next
those places you go to, you just know everybody. Not by name, not really by what they do, but you've seen that person. You've hung out with them. You've probably had a beer with them. You probably had a long, in-depth conversation at some point about something, but you just, you know, it's the nod, you know? You just see somebody, it's like you give them a little chin, you move on. I mean, that's what Common Grounds is. It's just a place where everyone, like, ends up knowing each other.
I think I'll miss just having a great venue for live music. There really isn't any other venue that I can trust to bring in quality shows like this. I also really have always been a big fan of the Porch, so I think that brings a diverse place to hang out.
I'll get more work done now. Because I won't want to come here now. I'll go do stuff, actually. Like, I'll do work instead of saying, no, there's a really good show.
You know, the Common Grounds is this place that's been around Gainesville for a long, long time, and even back in the University Avenue days, man, I would go there and see just incredible Tom Miller shows. I was awesome in those shows, and then they moved to this new location, and I did shows there, and I have to say I was awesome. All of those shows were incredible. And you know, I mean, as Common Grounds fades into our collective memories, it's just going to kind of transition into another place, just like this, with a different name, that will also have bands like that. And I'm telling you, if ever I do a show in there, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for me.
Over the years, we played here more and more and more, and it just became our home, really. And we, you know, when we'd come back from tours, like this would be the only place we'd consider playing. And it really just like, it ended up becoming the place I think that we all feel the most comfortable, the place that we would play every time if we could. Well, I think all of us, when we heard that it was closing, felt like, I mean, you know, we felt like we were kind of losing a friend, as cheesy as that might sound. But really, I mean, this place is the Gainesville music scene. We don't have a music scene, really. I mean, there are a couple other venues in town, but this is it. This is the one that makes us legit, so we're sad to see it go.
So I remember when we first got to play here, we had to play here with Mujosa. They invited us to open for them. Common Grounds is a pretty big deal for us to play. We were just starting out in Paxicovia, Mexico, and so we got here and really afraid it was going to be really pretentious and not fun. It was a blast. We had such a fun time. And the attitude of the place is just so much about the music. I don't know. Just I guess it's the feel of the place. The decor is pretty cool, and like just it feels like home. And it didn't at first. At first it felt like, wow, it's not Common Grounds. But then it began to feel like the place you want to be, kind of hang out with friends. So.
Some of my favorite Common Grounds memories are going to floor shows and playing floor shows. Especially when you're on the floor show, if there's less than 200 people, it still feels packed because you can't see past the first 20. When you're up, you can see all the way back to the bathroom. One floor show we played, we had about 200 people here, and playing on the floor that big, on the same level, feels awesome.
So many bands I know just actually moved to Gainesville and they want to come and play here.
This is the place, you know, like as soon as you move to Gainesville, you get in the music scene and you start to form bands. Really goal number one becomes how can we get into Common Grounds? And you start out at other places, but this is always the top.
One of my favorite Common Grounds shows was we teamed up with the people who do the Undie Run on campus at UF. And we had a deal where if you showed up at Common Grounds, this is the night of the Undie Run, if you showed up at Common Grounds in your underwear, you got in for like $2 instead of $5 or something. So we tried to get everybody to run from campus to here that night, and we all wore our underwear that night, and it was like, actually kind of gross, but we had a big crowd of people in their underwear.
I'm going to miss the power of the crowd when it's packed full. No other place in Gainesville has the power that Common Grounds has, so I'm going to miss that the most. I've never had a show that wasn't my favorite here.
I mean, that's why we're there, is because of the times that we had at Common Grounds, at the old Common Grounds, in that building. That's what the charm of that place is for us. It's still that small venue, you know, local venue.
This is a pretty unique place. I mean, I don't know of any live music venues that have something like the Porch, or that do, you know, like, it's like, you know, chili cook-off thing, or just, you know, grilling and smoking food, you know, on a Saturday or Sunday, just because you can, or Cinco de Mayo kind of thing. I mean, I don't know of any place in town that does that or has ever done that.
During the summertime and a super packed show at Common Ground, it's actually cooler outside in like 90-degree, 100% humidity Florida weather than it is inside.
When we first moved to Gainesville, I remember trying to get booked at the Common Grounds many times. And I remember the first time we played here, it was Dead Week in the middle of summer, Friday night. And finally we got booked to Common Grounds. It was this big show. It was us and 3 other friends bands, no, 2 other friends bands. So 3 bands, including us, and then an out-of-town band that was friends with somebody here. And I remember Travis went up to Jason Rockwell the first time we ever dealt with him and said, so what's the story? What's this out-of-town band going to get paid? And Jason Rockwell goes, first of all, just chill. Second of all, we're going to figure it out at the end of the night. It's like with a total attitude, and we were like, fuck these guys are assholes. But we brought out a great crowd, and over the years, like, we earned their respect, and we actually become really good friends with all of it. And it's just, I'm going to miss that. I'm going to miss what we've earned here.
Can I have your best Nigel impression? You already gave me Rock Hill. What's Nigel?
Best Nigel impression? Okay, yes.
We're here tonight, the last night of Common Ground, and I've known Nigel for probably 15 years. Excited for him, you know, sad for the place, but I'm happy to be carrying on the sport. Hard thing to do, but I'm going to do my best. That's all I can say, I guess.
Common Grounds, it's been kind of a huge part of my adult life here. Last 8-9 years been coming here, so it's kind of weird to be depressed about a business closing, but it's definitely been, odd. Felt sad the last couple of days, but it's going out with a bang, and happy to be a part of it. So.
Not one more word tonight between here and there. We'll put a distance the size of the ocean, so now his heart can beat a skipping rhythm as the cadence carries me. I almost drift away far enough to forget that when it comes you cannot hesitate, and when found I will write an account and seal it in an envelope addressed to your last known residence.
Most of my earliest and greatest memories of Gainesville music happened here.
Common Grounds itself is one of those cornerstones. There's really nothing that really compares to this place right now in this town, and now that it's going to go, it's just, we're going to have a huge void to fill.
And if you just look at the paper, you just think about live music, and yeah, it's a loss, but if you've actually been here, then I think it's a really big loss.
When this place is under new ownership, yeah, music will still go on here. They'll still play it, kids will still come, but it'll never be the same.
Live music really does matter. When you've got to be out here and experience this, that way what you learn, you can put out to the world, to somebody else, and it's a chain reaction. So if people stop coming out, that chain gets broken, and it's harder and harder to fix it each time. So what I'm hoping that is with Common Grounds closing down, yes, it's very sad. Obviously, some things are going to change, but the reality is we have to come out and show support as best as we can, whether you like it or not, that particular band. But we need to keep this going.